Dear students, today we are going to cover part 3 of class 9th English Beehive book, lesson 4, A Truly Beautiful Mind. So far we have seen that how Einstein's life got transformed till the age of 2.5 years. He was not speaking, and once when he started to speak, he was smattering, he was repeating the words twice, and then he started to continue with his studies, and then when he was not okay with the discipline or the regimentation, the disciplinary acts which were there in the school, so he left the school at the age of 15 years. But again, when he shifted to his parents, he continued again with his studies, and then he completed his graduation, and he started, till the time he was not having any job, he was taking private lessons, private classes, and different things he was doing. And then he got job in patent office, where he used to patent or document the different invention of different people. And then it is being said that his drawer, on his table there was a drawer where he used to keep his work on the relativity theory, and he used to call that desk drawer the work bureau of theoretical physics. So now we will just continue from that point. One of the famous papers of 1905 was Einstein's special theory of relativity, according to which time and distance are not absolute. Indeed, two perfectly accurate clocks will not continue to show the same time if they come together again after a journey if one of them has been moving very fast relative to the other. From this followed the world's most famous formula, which describes the relationship between mass and energy. That is, E equals to mc square, where m is E stands for energy, m for mass, and c stands for speed of light. So he was working on this theory since his graduation time. He was studying. Then while he was working in a patent office, he was still working on this theory, and in 1905 he published. So later on, when you will be you will be doing PhDs, doctorates. So you have to write papers, assignments, and that you have to publish in a newspaper or different magazines. The same thing happened with Einstein also, Albert also. In 1905, he let his special theory of relativity publish. And what this theory describes, it says that if if the two clocks having the same time, they travel, they start traveling together in different directions and come back again to the same position or the place where they meet again together. In such a point, the time between these two clocks or these two watches won't be same, and that whole thing of his theory of relativity describes. And he gave that equation or the formula, which is E equals to mc square. Okay, fine. While Einstein was solving the most difficult problems in physics, his private life was unraveling. That means unraveling means starting to fall. He was facing a lot of difficulties in his private life. Albert had wanted to marry Mileva right after finishing his studies, but his mother was against it. She thought Mileva, who was 3 years older than her son, was too old for him. She was also bothered by Milva's intelligence. "She's a book like you," his mother said. Einstein put the wedding off. So while he was busy in solving his physics problems or giving equations or doing a lot of things. In his personal life, he was facing a lot of problems. So we know that while he was studying only, he was attraction towards Mileva, and they both were having a good relation. And Albert once wanted to marry her. But Albert Einstein's mother was against because she thinks that Mileva is 3 years older. That was too much. And right now, is still this such problem there is in the society where many people think if a girl is elder to a boy, there will be some complications, some things will be there. So that is their personal problem, and we don't want to go there. But this thing is there from the very ancient time, from the very beginning. And his mother says that about Milva, her thought were, she's a book like you, as you always used to be in the book doing your problems, solving the equations, all those things you are doing. She's same like you, but then too going against the will of his parents, will of his mother, Einstein put off the wedding. वो शादी कर लेता है. The pair finally married in January 1903 and had two sons, but a few years later, the marriage faltered. Melva, meanwhile, was losing her intellectual ambition and becoming an unhappy housewife. After years of constant fighting, the couple finally divorced in 1919. Einstein married his cousin Elsa the same year. So, what do you see? Einstein got married with Mileva against the will of his parents in 1903, and they had two sons. But few years later, when there was no will of their parents, there are complications. So the marriage flattered. It started to become weak. And in between this, Milva was losing her intellectual ambition that she wanted to grow. But because of this marriage, she could not, and she was becoming an unhappy housewife. And after all these things, in 1903, they got married. In 1919, after 16 years, they separated. And the very same year, Albert Einstein married his cousin Elsa on the very same year. Okay. Einstein's new personal chapter coincided with his rise to world fame. In 1915, he had published his journal Theory of Relativity, which provided a new interpretation of gravity. An eclipse of the Sun in 1919 brought proof that it was accurate. Einstein had correctly calculated in advance the extent to which the light from fixed stars would be deflected through the Sun's gravitational field. The newspapers proclaimed his work as a scientific revolution. Einstein received the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921. He was showered with honors and invitations from all over the world and lauded by the press. So, as we know that in 1905, he has given theory of relativity, and by 1915, he gave a new chapter, and that was the new interpretation for gravity. And few years later, in 1919, there was eclipse, which brought the proof of his relativity theory, and the things were in favor of Einstein, and each and everything got accurate. He beforehand he explained that how the stars or the light from the sun will be deflected and all those things. And the newspapers, when the stars are in your favor, the newspaper media also, they point out or they reflect you, they make you a fame. So they proclaimed his work as a scientific revolution, and in 1921, Albert Einstein received Nobel Prize for physics, and he was everywhere in the world. He was showered with honors, invitation, going to this program, that meeting, this thing, that thing, all things were having. And apart from this, the press, the media was lauded. They were making him more and more famous. They were bringing a lot of praises to him. Okay, so hope you have understood this, and in next part we will cover the remaining chapter. Okay, good. That's